Hello, this is Steve, and today I wanted to do a video on the Antminer S1, how to set them up and get them running correctly. I also wanted to give you some tips on choosing a power supply. Okay, when you receive your Antminer, it's going to look like this. Now I'm going to go ahead and unbox it and show you what it looks like when you're unboxing. See, it's double boxed. We do a good job of boxing these up so they don't get damaged in shipping. See, they come packed real nice. Come in a nice anti-static bag. It's a good idea to ground yourself out on something, not move your feet around, so that when you pull this out you don't get any static electricity into it. Static electricity can damage the electronic components. There we go. Now when you get your Antminer, you want to go ahead and check the boards around the screw holes. Make sure there isn't any heat sink compound leaking anywhere around the board. And this one looks pretty good. Okay, now I want to go over picking a power supply and tell you why all power supplies are not the same. When I first started this, I thought, yeah, I'll just buy an Antminer. I'll just, go on eBay or whatever and get a power supply. It's a little bit more difficult than you think, and I'm going to explain why each power supply is different from another power supply. They're not all created equal, and you need to get the right one to be able to power this Antminer correctly. And there's some differences in them that will save you money in the long run. Some of them run more efficient than others. The ones that are more efficient usually cost a little bit more, but in some circumstances they actually will cost less, and I'll show that to you right now. So you can see in the background we've got power supply here. That's powering this Antminer here. And then over here, you see back there, we've got a power supply here that's powering this Antminer. There's some subtle differences. You can tell this is silver. This one here is the cheapest one you can buy that I found that works. And there's some two really nice power supplies. This one back here will power this Antminer just fine. The only thing I don't like about this is you've got all these extra bundle of wires just sitting there and taking up space, and doesn't really look that nice. My favorite power supply is this guy here. And now it has modular plugs on the back, so you can plug in whatever you want to this. You don't have all those extra cords coming out. So for this, for the Antminer, we're just going to use 2 of these VGA 3 plugs, or VGA plugs. And so essentially all you'll have is, you'll just have 2 wires instead of a bunch of wires. So it makes everything really nice and neat. And this one here is the most efficient of the 3, meaning it uses less power than the other 3. And at the end of this video I'll demonstrate why this power supply is superior to the other 2. So when you're picking out a power supply, you can't just go off how many watts. The Antminer uses about 340 watts from the wall. So you'd think, this is a 600 watt power supply, this one's going to do just fine, right? No, it won't. And let me show you why. You can't really see it here, but it says that it's 23 amps on the 12 volt rail and 20 amps on the 12 volt rail. But in all actuality, when I use this brand, it won't even power up one Antminer. It overpowers it. It draws too much power from it and shuts it off. So this was a something that I bought that didn't work. Let me show you another one that I bought. Now, this is a cheap one. It's a 680 watt power supply. But if you look at the 12 volt rail, what we want is we want our power on the 12 volt rail, because the Antminers use 12 volts. And as you can see that these power supplies, these are for computers, they've got a 3.3 volt rail, a 5 volt rail, and a 12 volt rail. So this one here has 45 amps on the 3.3 volt and 50 amps on the 5 volt, but only 22 amps on the 12 volt. And now, theoretically, 22 amps is enough to run an Antminer. But, again, when I plugged this in, there wasn't enough power, and it shut it down. So what we're looking for is a lot of amps on the 12 volt rail. So I got this one off of eBay. This is 750 watt Neutron by Solid Gear. And now this one meets the specs. So right here on my 12 volt rail, it shows 50 amps. So theoretically this one would work just fine. Well, what happened when I plugged this one in, this one doesn't live up to its specifications. Anytime I put more than 300 watts on it, on that 12 volt rail, this one would shut down too. So beware of this brand if you get it off of eBay. This one's not going to work with your Antminer. Now let's go to the ones that do work. So this silver guy over here, this one was the cheapest one. And it's this one here. And now if we look at the specifications on this one, I don't think they're on the box. They're actually on the unit itself. It says 735 watts, 733 watts. But the 12 volt rail is 660 watts and 55 amps. So this one will work with your Antminer. Another one that I like a lot, this is a really solid power supply, really efficient. This is the Corsair Cx 750. It has 62 amps on the 12 volt rail. So this one here, and it's also an 80 plus bronze. So the efficiency is going to be a lot better than the first one I showed you. This one works great for your Antminer. The one I like the best, and that's this one here. The only reason why I like it the best, it's a little bit more efficient than the Corsair. but it has those modular plugs, keeps everything neat. That's it there, and it actually has, it does it a little bit different, but it has 4 12-volt rails, each with 20 amps, and this one actually lives up to the 20 amp specification. This is a great power supply. It's the one that I recommend. It is an 80 plus gold, so it's going to be one of the most efficient power supplies you can buy. And again, at the end of this video, I'll show you why one power supply is better than another. Basically, it's going to end up making you more money in the end because it's going to use less power. Alright, now I want to go into physically hooking up the Antminer. Okay, the Antminers are really simple to hook up. If you notice here, it has a connector here on each side. This is a blade, so on each blade it has a connector. You're going to take your computer connector here, your VGA connector, and just plug it right in. Okay, and then the other end, just plug right into the power supply. Okay. And of course, you want to plug in the power back here. Now you want to plug your power supply into a good quality surge protector. This is going to protect your investment against unwanted power surges. They can damage the Antminer. Now, in order for the power supply to actually work, you have to trick it so that it knows that it's thinks it's in a computer. So what you do is you find this 20-pin plug, and you look for the green wire on the plug, and this goes for all power supplies. You look for the green wire, which is there, and then all these black wires, those are all grounds. So what we want to do is we want to connect the green wire with black wire. You can go ahead and cut this, snip it, and then wire it together, solder it together. What I like to do is take a paper clip and I put it there in between the two plugs there. With that in place, you can the power supply will turn on. Now let's say you've bought one of these. The plug on this one, all the wires are red, or all the wires are black. So let me show you what you need to do here. On this plug here, you want to count over from the bottom row 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth one over from the bottom that's the green wire, and the next one to it is a black wire. So you want to jump these two right here to trick this power supply so that it'll turn on. What I like to do on this, you get some extra cords. It doesn't really matter if you snip one of these off or not. What I like to do is take and cut one of these off, these little plugs here, and then wire them together. So what I've done is I've wired it, actually soldered this, but you can cut it, strip them off, wire it together, put some electrical tape over it, and I've actually soldered them together and put some shrink wrap over it. So if I insert this plug 1, 2, 3, 4. Between the 4th and the 5th, just like that, the supply will now run. One last thing that I forgot to tell you, you need to get your data cable. It's RJ45 cable. Plugs right into here. You want to plug that in and plug the other end into your router in any of the available ports. Okay, now we're ready to go. You can go ahead and flip the power on and the unit should start up. You'll see some lights begin to flash here. The next part of this video, I want to go over how to actually set up the Antminer to the right IP address and get your pool addresses into the software so that you can start mining. Okay, the first thing we want to do is get the IP address of your Antminer, and most of these will ship with the same one. So it's, you look here right on the back, right above the fan, you have an IP address. Most of the time it'll end with 99. Now we're going to need that to access the Antminer. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to set up the Antminer. So what you need to do is open up any web browser. I'm using Mozilla. And we'll go to the top address bar and we'll put in that number that's on the back of the Antminer, 192.168.1.99. That is going to access the software. The password by default is username is root and password is root. So type in root, hit enter, and this will bring you to the main screen. Okay, so you're going to have a lot of information there. What we're going to concentrate on is getting it mining for you. So you want to go over here to the network tab, click the network tab, and then down here on WAN, we'll go over here to edit. Okay, and this is where we're going to set up the Antminer to work with your router. Now you can see that the address here is the same as the one on the back of the Antminer. You might want to, if you get more than one Antminer, you're going to want to change this. You can change it to anything from 0 to 254. But you want to stay a little bit higher. I suggest over 100 because there's going to be a lot of IP addresses that are already assigned under 100, so you don't want to get any conflicts. So since this is my third Antminer, I'm going to put in 103. My other one is 100, 101, and 102. I'll put in 102. So I have three Antminers. On the net mask, you're just going to leave that the same as it is right there. The default gateway, we'll talk about that in a second. This IP4 broadcast, you can leave it the way it is. A lot of times you can delete this and it'll still work. And down here for the DNS server, we're going to always use 8.8.8.8. Now, in order for the Antminer to work, it needs to be able to hit the gateway of your router so that it can connect to your pool and start mining. Now, this could be tricky for people because if you don't know what your gateway is, you're going to have to find out. For my, a lot of times it will be this 192.168.1.1, and it might work just fine for you, but it could be something different. So in my case, I have a Netgear router. So you just want to get your router name, come up to the internet, and I'll type in Netgear router gateway, and then somebody here is going to have the gateway. There we go. Address. So I'll go into another tab here and type in 192.168.0.1. Ninety-two, 168, 1, 1. There we go. So my gateway, this to connect to my router 192.168.1.1. Now you want to find your gateway IP address. So you want, for mine, I look under, let's see. Router status. And this is going to give you all information on your router. Right down here, if you look here, it says IP address of your router is 192.168.1.1. So go back to your Antminer, put in your router gateway, hit save and apply. May take a while for that to take effect. Okay, so if nothing happens, just go up here and click the network button again. It'll go to this screen, and then you'll want to go ahead and log back into it. 92, 68, 1, 102. Now if we go back to network, back into the WAN settings, edit. You'll see that your settings have now taken effect here. That's good. Next thing, we want to set up the pools. I use ghash.io. The reason why I use that is because I think it's the best. To set those up, we'll go over, press the status tab here, and then go over to miner configuration. Now you can see your pool 1. This is the one we're going to work with, pool 1. Your pool 1 worker and your password. I use ghash.io. If you go onto the ghash.io site, sign up for an account. right here, it's going to show you the information you need to put in your pool setting. So Stratum servers are for UK. If you're in Europe, you'll use this one. If you're in the US, you'll use this one. So I'm going to highlight that, copy back to my Antminer, put that in my pool 1 up here at the top. And then for the pool worker, you can see you put your username, dot, and then your worker. So for example, this is my username and worker 1. Since this will be my third worker, I'm going to put in, I'll go ahead and copy that. And then I will put that in there and change this to worker 3. I'll leave that password, whatever you want there. You're going to go ahead and hit save and apply. If you have other pools, you can put them in here. What happens is if this pool goes down, it goes to the second pool. Mine's the second pool. That goes down, it goes to the third pool. Let's go ahead and hit save and apply. At this point, I like to reboot the Antminer. So hit the Systems tab, then hit Reboot here on the end, and perform reboot. Now this might take a little bit of time. When it's done rebooting, you'll get the authorization screen. You go ahead and put in the password, root. We're going to go over here and check our miner configuration. Make sure our pool is entered in correctly. And now you can see the pool is changed to my ghash.io pool. And now to check and see if it's mining, you'll hit the miner status here. And you can see that it is mining the ghash.io pool. And here is my average, 175.99. That'll go up. Last 5 seconds was 182. And to double check that it's mining the pool, go to your ghash.io, click on workers. And you can see down here my worker 1, my worker 2, and here's my new worker 3. You can see it's just started to mine. So there you go. Now on the Antminer, you'll know if it's mining, you'll see 2 green LEDs that are flashing. And I'll show you that now. And this is what your Antminer will look like when it's mining. You'll have that green flashing light. You should have it on both blades. You have a blinking green light here and a red light. Now for the last part of this video, thanks for those of you that have stuck with me all the way through this video. I'm going to show you why it is better to use a more quality power supply rather than a cheaper unit. Okay, what I have here is a kilowatt meter and it's plugged into the wall. Plugged into that is my power strip, and on my power strip are my Antminers that are plugged in. Right now I have all 3 Antminers off, and you can see that I'm drawing just enough watts to run the meter there. Not even a watt. 0.6 watts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the power supply here that is the least expensive, and I'll show you how many watts that it consumes in electricity. So I'll go ahead and turn that on. Okay, and we'll go ahead and watch the meter. Right now, it takes a bit to start mining. Right now, the miner is using a little over 69 watts. In a second here, it'll kick on, and we'll see how many watts it uses to mine 180 gigahash. Okay, now it's mining. You can see that this power supply and the Antminer are drawing about 418 watts. Now I'll show you the Corsair power supply that's hooked up to Antminer number 2. I'm going to turn this one off, and we'll turn on the Corsair power supply. Now you can see right off the bat that it's using less watts. Now this miner's still booting up. We'll see what it uses when it's fully on. And there you can see that the Corsair and the Antminer are using 371 watts. So this using quite a bit less than the first power supply. Okay, now I'm going to turn off the Corsair and turn on the EVGA power supply. As you can see, it's using slightly less watts than the Corsair. And there you can see that the EVGA and Antminer are using 366 watts. Okay, some of you might be saying, "Oh, big deal, what difference does that make?" Well, I live in Utah, and here we pay almost 10 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. And I've done a little conversion here of the three miners, so you can see how this can be a lot more profitable if you get a quality power supply. So our first one was running about 423 watts. The second one was about 372, and the third one's about 369. Now you turn that into kilowatt hours, so that's on the first one is 0.423 kilowatt hours. So basically it's going to use 4.2 cents an hour, which is basically $1 a day. Okay, so in a month's time, it will cost me $30 in power to run that Antminer. And you can see on the other ones here, you come down here, 89 cents a day for this one, which ends up being $26.70 a month. And the third one you can see there it's $25.80 a month. So you can see very quickly that spending $30 or $40 more for a better power supply in the long run is going to save you money and put more money in your pocket. So this concludes this video. Thank you everyone for watching the video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. Please subscribe to my channel and rate my video. If you do have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. This is Steve. Thanks for watching.